Alright, so we are back. This is episode 8 of the Daily Wise Cipher. It has been a month-ish since we last updated our episode. Well, a lot of things happened for all of us. School, life, personal stuff, and things and all that jazz. So apologies for our sudden hiatus for these last 3 weeks. But other than that, we are now crossing over to chapter 2, right? Moss and Anya?
Yeah, chapter 2.
New chapter, yeah. Finally, new chapter. So I'm gonna go ahead and change the screen over. Alright, here we go. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. So we open chapter 2 with, or short one, I was gonna say short mission 2, my bad. Just mission 2. We are looking at Frankie dressed as, or wearing makeup. Because we thought he was gonna become the mother of the Forger household. And I love this drawing. I feel like this is such a basic art to draw on. I don't know what to call it, but I feel like this is a trend. Like I've seen like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure use this kind of makeup style too themselves. And to see this on Frankie, it's just like, I just feel like it's like, I don't know what to call it. It's like the classic feminine makeup that men tend to do. Or I don't know what to call it. There's a saying for it. Like a parody of female feminine makeup, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It's very classic. Oh, something that already stood out. I see Anya, you colored it, or you covered the entire thing. Why did you highlight that?
Yeah, I circled the whole thing because it's basically the same design as the first appearance of Frankie. So, I've also copied
You're
so
so
you could
smart.
see that.
Didn't even notice that. That was so cool. Go ahead, sorry for interrupting.
It's fine. And you could see that the first time, you could see Twilight's trying to block Anya in, keep her inside the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now they're both together, so it indicates a change of situation or a change of relationship between the two. So yeah, that's it.
Oh,
and I think it's pretty cool.
That is actually pretty cool. We got a case here of parallelism, right? What we say?
Mm-hmm.
I love it when he parallels.
Mm-hmm.
When Endo parallels, it's like, oh, there you go. You already know what kind of style he does for his work. He loves paralleling. I didn't realize that, so oh my god, Anya, I'm so glad you pointed that out. So change of situation, I love that. And then as we can see, as you also highlighted, in the first time that we see Frankie, it's just him and Lloyd speaking. And then on the second time he shows up in chapter 2, it's with Anya now there, basically. Okay, and Lottie said, if I remember correctly, it was more noticeable in the anime. I think so too. Maybe it was more noticeable in the anime. And I like how all of them are just quiet. Then we get to this bottom part, and Lloyd is saying, no, this won't do. And Anya says, I don't want this, mama. Actually, this is something I actually want to ask you, Anya. Does she also say this, mama?
Yeah.
In Japanese as well? Like this, haha?
I think so. I'm double checking, but I'm quite sure she did.
Okay.
She said, yeah, she said konohaha.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Because it's interesting because she still maintains that whole pattern, just like we mentioned. Like Chi-Chi goes with haha, just like how Oka-san goes with Oto-san. Like they have that, I don't know what to call them, they're like pairing words, parallel words. I'm not sure what we call it in linguistics or in language, but we have those words that go in pairs. So she also says, this is not my mama. Very interesting word choice. And we don't get to see this in English because mama is the only word we see that Anya says, I believe. We don't hear her call Yor as mommy or mama. I feel like that would be nice, considering with her bio mom, if she referred to her as mommy or something. That would be really cool to see in English, but I don't think that happens. Or I don't recall if that actually happens, right guys? I feel like my memories are like so dulled right now since I haven't been analyzing in such a long time. She never calls her bio mom mommy, right? Just mama.
No, I
Yeah.
thought she did in the anime, but I might be misremembering.
In the anime, yes. If it's interesting because if we're referring to the like the canon, the Japanese dub basically, she says mama, the actual word mama, the English word. But whenever she refers to your in Japanese, it's haha. So
Yes.
it's harder to catch in English because she says mama for both bio mom and your. That's what I wanted to point out. So, and again, why I'm indicating why it's so important to highlight that she calls her haha, because I feel like it's such a linguistic approach that when you refer to someone as haha or chichi, it basically means the child is reinforcing that this is my parent, and it shouldn't be referred to anyone else other than the parents directly, technically speaking, if that's how it works in Japanese, right, Anya? If that's the only time they use it.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, I was saying, when you say chichi and haha, just as a refresher, you only say this when you're referring directly to your parents, right?
I think it's yeah.
Okay.
You're referring to others. You're talking about your parents in front of the others.
Oh, okay.
That's what I meant.
Oh, okay, my bad. So
Like,
yes.
this is my, like my father says. Then you could say chichi, whatever.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I needed a refresher on that too. So when you say chichi and haha, you only say it to people when referring to your parents when your parents are, I mean, you're not directly speaking to them. Japanese has a whole word association. They classify their words that if you're talking to your mom or your dad, you call them okasan or otosan. That's how you refer to them when you're talking to them. But when you're talking to people about your parents, you switch it to chichi and haha. So, in the case here, why I wanted to point out why Anya says that I don't want this mama is basically linguistically pointing that she has not chosen this person to be her mom. And I think from a linguistic stance, and we discussed this in a previous episode, I believe, but as a refresher, Anya is telling us, the readers, and she's also telling Lloyd and Frankie as well, that I did not choose this person to be my mom, which, yeah, can be kind of confusing if linguistics is kind of confusing. But anyways, moving on. Lloyd says, I don't think you can pull off the mother role, Frankie. Though I've met women who look worse. With all your talent for disguise, this is the best you could come up with? Really? There's only so much I can do with that body type. Which is actually kind of funny, pointing this out. So yeah, I think it's really funny to see this. He really didn't really put much effort in terms of Frankie's makeup. I see Lottie saying, I cannot be anime checker as I am still not at home. That's okay. In other words, when Anya is using Chichi Haha, it's a mental reinforcement of the Forger family. Yes, exactly. That's right, Lottie. Exactly what you said. So moving on to page 2. This is Operation Strix. My codename is Twilight. I came all this way to help, you know. You can have a peanut. As a spy from Westalis intelligence agency, I was assigned this top secret mission. The goal is to avert a war being engineered by Austanian political leader Donovan Desmond. Okay, I see you circled something right away, Anya. Why?
Yes, because that's a strange, my brain is not braining.
It's okay.
When he says Twilight, in fact he's saying Ole, which is I. So there's a tiny footnote beside Twilight that says I. So I think it's difficult to translate it because when you not read, if you don't read the footnote, then it seems like he's putting himself in a very detached position.
Mm-hmm.
but then at the same time, Twilight is still him.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Like, it's very interesting that in the Japanese, they try to distinguish them in a sense. Is that my understanding of what you're trying to explain?
I think I think my I think I've got the sense that in Japanese he he avoids using it. He avoids to make the words appear to have come out of his mind or his perspective. So he didn't say anything like my code name is or as to someone. It's kind of like Twilight with juice.
Hmm.
Let me see. Yes, it's kind of like what he's saying is like Twilight has been given this mission, and the goal is to blah blah blah, and yeah. So
Interesting.
it sounds very detached.
Huh. In the Japanese,
Yes.
I wish I could understand what the Japanese one says. Because I'm curious about the tone and how he presents himself. Whereas in English, it's just repetition. Because I believe this is the second time he said this, right? Like, oh, this is Operation Strix. My name is my code name is Twilight. This really stands out to me because there's a rules of three or rules of thirds that happens in literature, and basically someone repeats the maybe a same phrase, a same sentence or two, and this happens again later on when after Yor comes into the picture and stuff. He says this all over again. Rules of three. And I remember specifically in the beginning when I read this, I was so annoyed. I was like, why do you gotta say this so many times? Go ahead, Anya.
I think it's just repetition. The reason I think it's just repetition is that I believe that he has spoken the thing more than 3 times. And the rule of 3 is more like getting the 3 objects together.
Right.
At the same time. It doesn't like it is not about a reoccurrence, if that makes sense. It's not it's about 3 things placed together other than things reoccurring.
I see what you're saying. Like the rule of thirds in terms of literature, if I remember correctly. I get what you're saying. Is that something happens, something must change. Because if you see it a third time, it's not a coincidence. It's like something must change. Like for example, oh, they kiss. There's a hint of kissing the first time. There's a hint of kissing the second time. The third time, they must kiss. That's a rule of third rule. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. The rule of third in literature.
No, I think the rule of 3 is 3 things placed together. Like 3 levels placed together other than reoccurrence, if that makes sense.
I feel like
It's
it might
not
be
really
broad.
about reoccurrence.
I'll double check.
Hmm?
I'll double check. Because I feel like there's multiple meanings for it. Because I know what you're saying is like there should be like could be a trilogy. I can't remember what the word was. It was like something about like I remember talking about this in my literature.
It's a triad.
A triplet.
Triplet.
It's a triad. No, a triad.
Okay, so it says here, the rule of 3 leverages the human's brain tendency to recognize and remember patterns, especially those involving 3 elements. It creates a sense of rhythm, completeness, and emphasis. In literature, character development, using 3 characters with distinct traits or having a character face 3 trials. Plot structure, employing classic 3-act structure, beginning, middle, end. Rhetorical device, tricolon, using 3 parallel words, phrases, and clauses. Veni, vidi, vici. Handiatress, using 3 words to express a single idea. Storytelling, fairy tales, and folklore frequently use the rule of 3, the 3 little pigs. Why it works. Memorability, 3 elements are easier to recall than larger numbers. Rhythm and flow, the repetition of 3 creates a satisfying cadence. I think that's the one I was trying to stress, the rhythm and flow part. Emphasis is also another one that's very common, which is the 3rd element often provides a sense of climax or resolution. That's another one too. Emphasis. In essence, the rule of 3 is a versatile and effective tool that writers use to enhance their storytelling. and create a more impactful experience for the reader. So I know what you're saying about what you're saying, like putting three objects together, because I know there's a specific name for that in literature, but I don't remember it. Leona says, the rule of three is a literary device that groups three related ideas together to make them more memorable, persuasive, and effective. It's based on the idea that human process information in patterns. So it's used in titles. Sorry, I'm gonna make this huge because I cannot read that. Yeah, here it says titles, novels with titles that include the number three, such as Three Billy Goats, characters, stories with three characters or point of view, plot structure, stories with a three-act structure, we already said that, phrases memorable that use three words, list related items such as friends, romance, and countrymen. So yeah, I noticed like the rule of three is very big in terms of literature because it has a lot of things to it. So for my approach when I mentioned why it was like rule of third in the beginning, it's because it's very prominent in the beginning. Chapter 1 talks about it, chapter 2 talks about it, chapter 3 talks about it. So rule of three, there's an emphasis. That's what I'm pointing out only. And then from that point on, he does mention again later. I'm sorry?
Yeah, I understand, but repetition has already the emphasis effect. So unless we have a definition for it, I really don't suggest us using the term just because.
I would just say it's just repetition and emphasis because at least from my perspective is that it's my understanding of who Twilight is, because we see a repetition of what he thinks about himself, and all this stuff. I just feel like whenever I see it, it's just reinforcing this is who he is. This is the kind of person he is. This is Operation Strix. This is my name is Twilight. Blah blah blah. So all I'm saying is that I just think it's more of a repetition of understanding the character of who Twilight is. That's just how I see it. Because over time
but I agree that it is a repetition.
Yeah.
I agree that.
Okay, so that's all I was just saying about that. Because later on,
it is a repetition.
Yeah, because in the future he doesn't say it as much. I mean, he does say it here and there, but it's not as back to back like chapter 1, 2, 3. That's the only time I see it like being back to back. But anyways, we can move on to we finished this part, and we can move down here. We managed to pass the entrance exam needed to work our way into Ostania's elite Eden Academy, but we failed to anticipate that both parents would be required to attend the mandatory follow-up interview. So we last left off basically not realizing that both parents must be present for it. And Lloyd says, there's no way around it then. I'll go find a wife. Okay, why did you circle that?
Because in both the Chinese and the Japanese version, they use a name of the activity that is kind of like matchmaking. I'm going to a matchmaking activity, something like that. It's funnier in a sense because it's kind of like I think it's less common in the Western countries, but in Asian countries, more like you want to get married, you can't find a partner, so you'll just go to an activity that you know you'll meet people that want to get married too. So you go to an activity like that to get a partner to get married with.
So you're saying like when he said this quote, it's like he's going to see a matchmaker?
No, it's more like an activity. It's kind of like speed dating or kind of like a matchmaking activity, which there are a lot of types of it, but like the activity only, like you'll just go to those activities if you want to get married, and you know that everyone's there is going to be serious about getting married.
Oh, I see. So that's the phrasing they said in the Japanese one, right?
Yes.
Interesting. And then I see that's definitely an influence of cultural discount or cultural, whoever's digesting the material is definitely like framed in that it I can't even say the words. I'm so sorry. My brain is not braining right now. What I wanted to say was basically this quote alone is just being changed to accommodate whatever cultural value you're from or whatever. It's very interesting. So I'm gonna pause for a second and read the chat. We also have here. This is why trilogies occur so often. Yes. Leona already got that. Fui says I'm late. We're remodeling, but I'm on lunch break. So hello, Fui. Good to see you. Fui says rule of 3. Damien and the E-boys. Yep. Anya, Becky, Connie. ABC. Oh, nice. Lloyd, you're Anya. Yes. Maybe for him, it's more getting into the role of Lloyd Forger. I think so too, because Operation Strix is so new to him at this point. That's actually a good argument too, Leona. Because it's still early on. Lloyd is still kind of getting a feel for him. And then Anya provided the expression here. And Lottie, wind is blowing me in directions, so I'll have to leave VC. Flies away. Okay, take care, Lottie. Be careful. Alright, awesome. Okay, if there's nothing else to point out on page 2, then we can move on to page 3 here. Interesting. Oh, alright, Moss. Why'd you point at this person? I'm very curious.
So it's very like uncanny, and it reminds me just immediately of a mannequin. Like think like going to a store, or like you're at a clothes place, you know, where they have the wigs, they try and feel really real, but it is very unreal. It is very uncanny, and it's like he's got this like image of a perfect wife, like a perfect person to add to the family.
Right.
So he's literally just trying to find something to fit in the puzzle. He's like trying to find the perfect piece. Yeah, that was it. It was just like with the blackout, it's like he's just finding the one thing that is just perfect.
Yeah, I like that you're saying that too, because you're saying it's just like a model that you see for like a mannequin, and I really love that you pointed out, because to me when I looked at this, I always think the mannequin usually stands or represents a standard, quote unquote a standard. I should put that in quotes. So the ideal woman, the ideal wife, if you will. And it's very interesting that we have this image of someone, I think does anyone have the anime image of this? Basically, I think she has blonde hair too, right? Or am I going wrong on this? I don't remember what color the hair was, but I thought it was like blonde hair. Emmy's getting it. Okay,
I feel
Emmy.
like it's blonde, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, like what is that? I don't know about that, but I feel like this is kind of something I've noticed as well in terms of not just linguistic, but we've been talking about this in social justice. A lot of the times representation on TV shows and media, it's like showing the blonde person in terms of America. If you're from America, they typically show the blonde person as a representative of like America, blonde hair, blue eyes. Especially if you go to Japan, for example, they associate Americans with blonde hair and blue eyes. It's just something I've been noticing, so I'm just curious if this is kind of like, feels like a little bit of that, I don't know if I should say stereotype is the right word to say, because of course I'm not trying to be offensive, you know, it's just something I've been noticing. Fui says, like, he doesn't see a wife as necessary, but he now needs her for the interview at least. He wasn't considering marriage at first. Yeah, that's true. Very true. Because we didn't even know that was the case too. Yes, oh my gosh, there's so many things to talk about here. Too, because I do want to circle this, but before we talk about that, immediately the hint. Anya, I think I know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
I think it's interesting that you've mentioned stereotype, because these two, including the pearl necklace you just circled, is what he dressed Frankie in.
Oh yeah, we talk about that, right?
But all the other things are different.
I see. And I'm pointing at it right now, yeah. I see the pearl on Frankie. Nice catch. I actually did not notice that. Also the flower too, right? It's on Frankie as well.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Nice.
But then literally every other things, like this, if this is the perfect wife, then Frankie, it's kind of like, even if he tries to dress Frankie, it's kind of like the accessories is what Frankie could get right. The other things are not.
Right. That's so true. And it's very interesting that we point that stuff out. Oh my gosh, I wish I had my pictures in front of me because I want to reference the actual Spy Family picture, the portrait of them. Because I can't remember if Yor actually wore pearls. I think she did. Maybe I'm wrong. I have poor memory. I just need to pull that up. And what's interesting is I actually saw it as, when you pointed this out, I didn't realize you were making connections with Frankie. I saw it as a foreshadow. Because my freaking brain only sticks to foreshadowing, parallelism, all that stuff. So the rose there is like a foreshadow. We're talking about the briars here. Briars coming up. Pearl, I don't know why, but I feel like I've seen Yor have pearl necklaces. Am I wrong for that? Do you guys remember?
During the interview, yes. During the interview.
That's what I thought. I'm like, I feel like there was a time when she wore pearl necklaces, and it was during the interview. You're right. But I just don't think she wore it for the family picture. Did she?
I think she wore it in the anime.
But not on the manga.
The manga, they took a picture later, I think.
I found...
I'll
Okay, go ahead. I was gonna post a picture that I just found online. I found this one. This is one of the merch that they were selling, but... And Yor is actually wearing, I think, pearls.
This is the one from the anime.
Yeah, this is the extra illustration, not the one where she took a picture where she was nervous. This is probably like a retake.
No, I've posted the one I found in the anime.
Yeah, I see it. Oh, so she is wearing pearls.
Yes.
And so interesting here too, because we can make a comparison between the two images. Because I'm gonna open this too. Because we can see here, Yor is wearing a completely different outfit. She has the roses on there. She has a pearl necklace, her headband there. Actually, she's still wearing her headband on the second one. But interestingly, the extra illustration, I don't know what they call them, unless it's what it's called for the anime, because I know they make like these special, like, kind of, I don't know what you call them. I guess they are like illustrations for the anime itself, because I know this one's for episode 2. And what's interesting here is that this extra illustration matches more of the actual the manga illustration, this one, because yours just missing the flower. It's not there anymore because she is the flower. And then she has her pearl necklace and the bow. She's like wearing almost the exact same dress. Oh, actually, it is the same dress, except for the missing flower.
Actually, she has a flower.
Oh wait,
she has flowers as her buttons. Her buttons.
You're right. I see what you're saying, because like the buttons here are on her belt. That's what I'm pointing at from the original anime. But for the extra illustration, I see what I see the flower. It's just very well blended. I couldn't even see it. So it's the same color as her dress, so it's hidden, but the flower is there. So in this extra illustration, they did get Yor to fill in this Mission 2 illustration, manga illustration, if that makes sense. Very interesting. Thank you, Emmy. Thank you, Anya. Episode art. Each new episode has one. Thank you, Fui. Yeah. It's called an episode art, I guess, because I know in the manga we call them special illustration for like before the newest chapter or newest arc or something. But yeah. Anyways, moving on. We have page 4. Did you hear the news? Our offices were robbed. City Hall, the capital city of Berlin. Apparently, the perp only broke into cabinets containing the personnel files of female residents. Doesn't that creep you out? He must be some kind of pervert. Nothing creeps me out more than our section chief. He was oogling. How do you say the word ogling, guys? Or oogling?
Yeah, ogling.
He was ogling me. Yeah, thank you. He was ogling me again this morning. It's those short skirts you wear. But my boyfriend loves it when I wear them. Okay, Anya, you circled this?
I think Endo likes to add, you know, the tilde. Is it called the tilde?
Tilde?
When Millie speaks something like this. Like this. Yeah, here.
It's interesting that you point
So
that out. Mm-hmm.
so you could maybe you could hear it also in the anime that her tone is kind of like more elongated. It's kind of like longer, more feminine in a way.
So like a Valley Girl
I'm not
accent?
really sure feminine. It's kind of like more girly.
Yeah. Because I see what
Yeah.
you're saying, because when I hear her speak, it's giving Valley Girl accent.
Yeah.
Something similar to it, at least. So Fui says, me thinking, Million, your boyfriend isn't at work. Or Millie, your boyfriend isn't at work. Why are you wearing them at City Hall? That's so true. But yes, I agree, because when she speaks, Millie, out of all of them, what I got from them is I feel like Millie and... Shoot, I forgot her name. What's this girl's name? It's been a while. That's not... Camilla, thank you. Camilla, Millie, and Sharon, if I remember correctly. Yeah. I always got the vibe that Millie and Camilla would have more of a Valley Girl accent. They kind of gave that vibe, whereas since Camilla is married, the way I associate Valley Girl accents, at least from what I've been noticing, Valley Girl accents come from people who are very young, who are from college. Especially if you join a sorority, you have that Valley Girl accent. So it's a reflection of that kind of age. That's something I've been noticing too, because the more older you get, the more you kind of stray away from the Valley Girl accent. You don't talk like that anymore. Valley Girl accent has definitely become more popular amongst Gen Z speakers, especially if they're working in the workforce. They actually speak more Gen Z or more Valley Girl too, which is very interesting to study. But in any case, that being said, when I heard Millie speak, she sounds like she's the youngest amongst the three for sure because of that accent, whereas Camilla feels like she does have a young accent similar to Valley Girl, but she's matured more, so she doesn't have that rhythm and flow anymore. Sharon, though, is very kind of deadpan when she speaks, so it's kind of like, yeah, I'm over this stuff kind of vibe. Very interesting. It shows age. I don't know, like anything with the voices on Spy Family is actually really brilliant now that we talk about it. But yeah, I'm glad you pointed this out because I felt like this is such a good representation of like showing someone who has kind of a playful / elongating word / Valley Girl kind of talking. I often get it associated with these symbols, so I'm glad you pointed that out, Ania.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, no problem. So on the bottom it says, "You've got a great body, Sharon. You should show off those legs. You should no worries. You should show those legs off. When you have kids, that sort of thing stops. What do you think, Yor? Doesn't the robbery creep you out?" And it's very interesting. Again, we can see the age because of not only voices, but also in tones here. We call this idiolects. Idiolects? Yes, there you go. Idiolects. The way you speak, it reflects your age. Very interesting. And she says here, when you have kids, highlighting kids, that sort of thing stops, so that it actually matches her status as being like the oldest amongst the three. Or not, maybe not the oldest, but maybe someone in a different chapter in her life, because she is married after all. She's dating someone, and she's kind of with someone short term, because we know they break up. But anyways, moving on. We have Yor over here saying, "I guess." So why did you circle this, Anya? Anya? I think we lost Anya for a moment. We'll get back to her when she comes back. I'm just gonna go ahead and read what Fui said. "Sharon, the nicer of the three since the beginning."
Hi.
You good?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I can hear you. You good?
I guess it's just my Wi-Fi. Yeah,
No worries, go ahead.
it should be fine. I think Endo shows us 3 layers of Yor in a very few pages. This is her first layer, where you could see that she generally responds with very short words, like to show that she's not interested. Well, I'm I'm not sure if disinterested is the right word, but it's more like she seemingly is not there. It's
Yeah.
kind of like there's just a shell of her.
Yes, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's like she's there physically, but mentally she's not there. I get what you
Yeah,
mean.
so she uses short words or short phrases.
Mm-hmm.
When you see like the three other women are like blah 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 blah, like it's paragraphs and paragraphs of words, and she's just like her. I guess it's not kind of like that. Yeah,
I feel that.
that's yeah.
It's very interesting that you point that out. Yeah, she's very kind of direct, short words to show and reflect that she's just not engaged. I feel that. Fui also mentioned here dissociation. I responded and said that's me when I'm in a social group. Leona says she definitely doesn't know how she fits in with the other ladies, if at all. That's very true. She quickly addresses it like in the next few pages or so. We'll talk about that in a moment. I wanted to backtrack a little bit on what Fui said. So she said Sharon's the nicer of the three since the beginning. She's just sarcastic, not trying to be outright mean, I noticed. Also, the second, after Camilla, to reach out to Yor during the bus arc. That's very true, because both of their kids are first years at Eden. He's just in class 2, I think. Thank you. Thank you for that information, Fui. Because, I've been forgetting details left and right. Emmy's also same, LOL mood. Okay, yeah. I'm the same too. It's like, if I'm not interested, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess. And we see Yor just casually pouring down her tea. Is that the chief's coffee? Should we put some snot in it? Hehe, snot. And I like that Yor's expression's here too. You can see on her face, she's like, what? So you circled this? Why, Anya?
No, because it's kind of like still short phrases,
Mm-hmm.
and Joe deliberately separates not with the questions she has
Right.
in the next panel.
Right. That's right.
So all the things I've circled in this pages because it's short.
I see. Yeah, it feels a little bit dismissive in a way, because I guess you could say in modern times, the way we perceive how people speak to us, when they say one word or maybe 5 words or less or something, it kind of reflects a little bit of disinterest because they're not using we call it open words that would have a much more open discussion. It's just very close-ended, keeping it short. Yeah. Like snot, huh? Okay, I guess. Those expressions, it doesn't open a big conversation. I see what you're saying. So we have here that you're actually legit asking, does that make the coffee taste better? I never knew that. And it's just kind of cute and funny because we know that's gross. We should not do that. And the fact that she says it's off the chat bubble just kind of shows her innocence. This is her real feelings. Oh, I didn't know that. And then we have the reaction of Millie, who's like, huh? And also Camilla also being like, what the heck are you saying? So yeah, why did you circle those 3? And of course, go ahead.
I think because Sharon didn't respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon's like, okay. So it's kind of like because Camilla and Millie have responded to that, they will say something, while Sharon is the one who says, cool it, Millie.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, because she's just she's smoking, so she's just trying to chill down right now from the stress.
Yeah.
So in a way, she's also kind of, I would feel like she's kind of okay, I'm here too, but what the heck is this conversation? She's so funny.
Yeah.
Sharon's funny. I think she's hilarious for that. I see Fui said, that's how I am when I'm at events I don't want to be at, work. Relatable. Leona said, does that make the coffee taste better? Really shows how she's lacking social skills. Doesn't know how to play around with others. Doesn't understand why they would do that. Did you want to add something, Anya?
Oh, and she also lacks cooking skills.
Yes, that's very true. like Yor is definitely the definition of not a standard / ideal woman. Now that we're talking about this kind of dichotomizes with our discussion with the standard ideal woman that Lloyd was looking for. She's anything but that in terms of being the proper standard woman in Zostania, but she of course she makes it up and elsewhere. She's great for it. Um,
Mm.
so going back to what Camilla said, oh, what a unique treasure you are. And of course, we can hear us readers, we can hear the sarcasm. What a unique treasure you are. Very interesting, because I feel like if they were being sarcastic, I would say this little wiggly bar would be here. Invisible wiggly bar. I don't know what you call this, but it sounds more playful if it was present, but since it's not there, obviously they're not on good terms. She's just mocking her. We already mentioned, huh? And Millie says, come back to Earth now, and maybe you could actually meet a man. And Sharon says, cool it, Millie. So I see you underline this, Anya?
Yes, I underlined it because it reminds me of Donovan. But
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Oh my god. Donovan.
But actually in the Japanese version, it's about she's saying that it seems like she's in a different dimension.
Which
I
see.
Kind of like Donovan. Yeah.
That's so funny that you point that out. I didn't even recall this. This is hilarious. I can't. So come back to Earth now. I love that you pointed out that it's related to Donovan. Even Emmy reacted saying lol in the chat. Fui says, just add more to my theory that Yor was indoctrinated, allow her own freedom with Yuri and how she raised him and kept him safe, but she was trained strictly as an assassin. Yeah, I feel like that too. We'll talk about that more maybe in a future spin-off, I would suppose. But yeah, I like that word choice too. Another thing that actually stands out to me is the linguist in me likes to always look at the way that people frame words because it's a reflection, again, of the time they were in. Since this took place in the 70s, I feel like this is kind of accurate in the 70s. Earth to Yor, come back to Earth now. That kind of expression, these kind of slang expressions, I think originated from the 70s or popularized at that time. It's very interesting to see the linguists really putting their work and effort into that. I will definitely have to double check that, but I think it was popular during the 70s because that was a time when space was popular too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna figure out the time for that. But yeah, I'll do that later because I don't want to eat too much time. But if anyone has an opportunity to look up the expressions like "come back to Earth," when was this word or phrase popular? It might give you a year of when it was introduced. Fui says, yeah, 19... I'm sorry, go ahead, Moss.
Sorry, I'm thinking like 60s, thinking like space race.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
Exactly. Fui says 1969 was the moon landing, so space race was a big thing. Okay, that makes sense. Because hearing these phrases would make sense if that's the idea, because as far as I know, it's slang. They can live up to maybe a decade, maybe 100 years, depending. Because we still use words like bro, which has been like a totally, I think 2000s, maybe 70s. People say bro. What's up, bro? Stuff like that. Those frames, those expressions. It's really interesting to see a year is attached to them. But just like what you guys mentioned, saying expressions like come back to Earth now shows 1969's influence of the space race. Yeah, that's really cool. So moving on to the next page, page 6. You're so pretty. If she put a little effort into her appearance, I know she could turn some heads. Sigh. I'll give her some makeup tips when I have some free time. You know what's actually quite interesting about this is I feel like this could be a low-key backhanded compliment. Did you guys get that too?
Yeah, like a backhanded compliment by far, yeah.
Yeah, like this one, because when they say, oh, you're so pretty, if only you put more effort into your appearance, I know you could turn some heads. So this second part feels very backhanded. It's like, oh, does she really hate her? And then Millie, I don't know if she also had that motivation or if she's just someone who just goes with the flow and she's legit saying, I'll give her some makeup tips when I have some free time. Like, I can't tell about Millie if she really means it or if she's like being sarcastic too. But Camilla, for sure, she gave Mean Girl Regina vibes. But yeah, when I noticed that, I was like, okay, I don't know if there's some beef going on here, but okay. moving on. I just want to keep working. That's enough for me. What? I think this is your responding, right? I just want to keep working. That's enough for me. Yeah, she's very straightforward. She's like, I'm not invested. Her eyes say everything you need to know if she's not really present. Moving on here. You're 27 years old now, aren't you? At that age, you need to be more careful. And again, something about Camilla really stands out to me, kind of sussy. This is actually kind of creepy if you look at like Millie's eye right here, kind of creepy. They say there are spies everywhere these days, and now people are reporting each other over any little thing. Very interesting here. Moss, go ahead and take away. Why did you circle Camilla's eyes?
So we've spoken quite a lot about it in the way that the eyes are so expressive and actually tell you quite a lot more about the story than you think they do. The first thing that automatically went to my mind was they're so square. It reminded me of Twilight, as in like a second personality or like a second like way of her like expressing herself in a sense. And obviously with this specific part of the panel, it's obviously very like dark in the background, so it's like there's like a little like darkness that she's trying to express. Like she's not hiding it anymore. This is like, it's not like a threat necessarily, but she's like a warning in a way.
I see what you're saying. Sorry, I'm just like munching on the sandwich when I was listening to you. You caught me off guard. No, I like what you said. I was thinking about so anything with square eyes seems kind of schemy to me. Like there's a scheme going on with Twilight because he's thinking about something related to manipulation or something about the mission. Whereas if I see someone squint their eyes, like Donovan has squarish eyes, there is some sort of like malicious intent that comes with it. So I feel like there's something malicious whenever I see square eyes. So there's a vibe for that. I definitely can see that. I noticed here in the next part, didn't you hear about that 30-year-old bachelorette who was turned in by her neighbors for being suspicious? Really? That's hilarious. Very interesting. Anya, you circled multiple people looking out, and also all of these other like bystanders, I guess. Why did you circle them?
Because it reminds me, firstly, it is a big deal because you could see a lot of people looking at that one person being arrested, and no one helped her, right? No one said to help her. And the other thing is, it reminds me of that the similarity of court and theater. Because justice or court or legality has always been, it has the similarities between drama as an art form and the legal world, as what is stated in the link I posted. So it's interesting because when you think about Twilight's role in this world, as a spy, he also performs to this crowd.
That's so interesting.
And if he fails, he will suffer the same consequences with all his audience looking at him.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I love that you point that out. That's so, I don't know, poetic. I don't know what else to call it. That's actually so brilliant that you pointed this out, that basically there is a great similarity between drama as an art form and the legal world, which makes sense because everyone wants to know what's going on, be in the loop. It is going to be the juicy gossip of the town. Considering this is a time there's not a lot of technology too, so they communicate by word of mouth, gossip. So it's very interesting that you pointed this out, especially the way that it's designed. I never really saw it that way. That's incredible. Oh my god, Anya, you blew my mind. It's so cool.
Thank you.
No problem. So Fui said backhanded warning. She's intentionally warning her before layer, saying they should report her. That's actually interesting that you said that. It's like warning someone you'll hate to be careful or they'll get fired just to be the one to report them. That's very interesting. Yeah, very good point. Nice point there, Anya. I did say Anya. Fui. Sorry, my tongue is like twisting a lot, so I'm not saying my words properly. This is definitely a common effect of not sleeping. Leona also adds, Yor's personality changed so much and so fast after meeting Lloyd. I'm surprised her co-workers haven't found it suspicious. I know Lloyd and Yor claim to have been married for a whole year, but I feel like the gossipy gals would be like, hold up, where did he come from? And Yor has changed so suddenly. Yeah, that would be interesting, but then again, I think they accepted that she's weird. And because her behavior of suddenly changing might be like, okay, that's kind of a weird thing, so we're adding on to her weirdness, so they're not questioning it. If that makes sense, Leona. I feel like that makes sense, because I would be like, okay, that's kind of sus that she changed too. At the same time, it's like, okay, but she's always been weird, so I don't know, I would shrug it off as well. I don't know. That's what I think too. But moving on from there, yeah, can you believe someone being single at that age? It's suspicious, alright. How sad. I feel like I need to highlight these parts here. Single at that age. It's kind of messed up because, again, it just shows the standard and expectations of women in Austanian culture, that women are expected to be married before 27, so I assume 25 would be the expected age of marriage, maybe? Quote, quote. Because we go by 5s or by 10s. It's one or the other. So it's very interesting that they said that. And of course, Yor here is just quiet, deadpan eyes. She's just like, I guess. She's thinking about it and like how it would hurt her for sure. Fui says, and Yor is still kind of weird. It's just focused more on Anya and Lloyd. That's right. And less on I'm alone because my baby brother is on his own, so I'm working on autopilot. Yeah, she's kind of like still on autopilot right now because I think I'm assuming this is the year that Yuri got pulled into foreign minister. And also, it's also the same year that he probably graduated from college, I would assume. Because knowing Yuri, he's the kind of person that wants things to be done right away. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got into the foreign minister job in the same year. And considering our understanding of the timeline, this is probably spring, right? For maybe late winter, maybe early spring, I don't know. Because the enrollment starts in spring, and then in fall was when Anya finally makes it into the school. I think that's our timeline, right, guys? I might be wrong. The whole timeline is still a confusion. I can't even talk. The timeline is still confusing to me. Even Fui says maybe summer, maybe. So now, page 7 we are. You're probably right. Thank you for warning me, Bao. So yeah, Yor's just taking it as face value because she has no social skills and she thinks of it as, oh, this is a report. Okay, interesting information. And she still carries her whole politeness here. What else did you want to say about this, Anya? Why she bowed?
I feel like they are teasing Yor to get something they want. They want a certain response, but Yor never gave her that. So they just add on and on and on. Like it all starts when Millie told her that you could put snot into the coffee. Mm-hmm. And then Yor just said, I never knew that. So they were like, Then they start again. They start teasing her, right? Mm-hmm. And then they get another response they don't want to see, which is they couldn't predict. A response they couldn't predict, right?
Right.
So that leads to Camilla saying that, oh, there's a party, you should come.
I see what you're saying, yeah. Because they're trying to get a reaction out of her, so I guess the teasing, I see what you're saying. They were trying to tease her to get a reaction. But Yor is not giving in to that, so I think for them, they want to tease her to the point that, okay, well, I guess, again, they're all surprised that Yor is not behaving like she used to, and I see that you're pointing it out, that their reaction was, okay, this is not what we're looking for, so let's go ahead and go to phase 3, which is, I'll invite her to the party and humiliate her, right? Because they're looking for something to... I don't know why the intention was planned out from this angle. I'm actually curious why Endo did this, because later down the line, we get to see that they grew out of that BS kind of behavior. So it makes me curious, like, why was there even that problem in the first place? I'm curious. But anyways, so like you mentioned, oh, you know what? I'm throwing a dinner party this weekend. You should come join us, Yor. and make sure to bring someone. So again, and make sure to bring someone. This is kind of the whole backhand compliment again. Was join us, but bring someone with you, or else you are a laughingstock. I kind of see between the lines there, for sure. Also, Fury says, I think Endo just enjoys drawing winter clothes. That too. Endo just likes drawing fashion. It's nice. Moving on here, we see, don't you think that's a little ambitious for her? I feel like saying this, maybe she could bring the pervert who broke into our office. You're horrible. I think this is Sharon. This is Sharon saying this. This one, I think, is Camilla. And then this one, I believe, is Millie saying all this. It doesn't really point at who's saying it, but I think this is who said each, because it makes sense for that. Yeah, yours new dress for volume 15. Oh, I've seen it, but I haven't read the new chapter. Don't spoil me. I've seen that, but that's about it. Okay, so Leona brought something very interesting here. She said I don't have to read it out loud. But yeah, depending on where you are in the country, sometimes some places are more colder than others. So a summer in some part of Europe is colder, when it should be summer should be hot in some areas. But yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've read something about that. Depending where you are in the world, some places are more cold than others. I can't even English anymore. Germany's quite cold for me, a person from Hong Kong. Relatable. So moving back here, very interesting on their word choices. This is a little ambitious for her. So Sharon's kind of a little concerned, but at the same time she's indifferent about is the presentation here. Maybe she could bring a pervert who broke into our office. Again, the backhanded compliment from Camilla using the pervert. I can't even draw. The pervert who broke into our office. And then Millie is just that, I don't know what to call her. She's just that kind of girl who goes with the flow, whether it's good or bad. So, she doesn't really feel like a girl's girl. I don't know what to call her.
She's young, and because this is the group she wants to be in, so she wants to stay in that group, so she just goes along. That is what I feel about Millie.
Yeah, she kisses ass. That's what I'm saying. Because she wants to be part of the group. I don't know what else to call them. I just call them the people who like to kiss ass. Because they want to be part of the group. So they try their hardest to blend in or something.
But she also, she naturally blends in. Because one of my theory is that they are in fact the same girl from different stages. That's why they connect so easily with each other. And the question is you talked about just then, they are looking for a reaction from you. They're probably also looking for a connection, but then they felt like they want a normal response, whatever normal is.
Yeah, whatever normal is, exactly.
Yeah, but then they couldn't get it, so they just they just go on and on and on about it.
Yeah, exactly. I see what you're saying. It's like they're looking for something to feel like a camaraderie amongst the three of them, but also at the same time, it's like trying to get... cause sometimes the camaraderie comes from hating the same person. That's one of the things I've learned. Yeah. I see what you're saying. So yeah, it's kind of mean that they're trying to unite with each other under the pretense that we're gonna bully this one girl, make fun of her. Which is really harsh. Poor Yor, she didn't deserve any of that. She's just lonely. And of course in this timeline, I wouldn't be surprised because generally a lot of the public or the members there don't take kindly to mental health or being aware of someone's mental health. So I kind of see it, yeah, that mental health wasn't really as embraced and they would isolate the person that is not the same as them, in a sense, if that makes sense. But of course, with Lloyd being a freaking psychiatrist, this timeline is being more embracing the mental and emotional health, which is nice, of course. And that goes away from, that takes a different angle or the creative liberties of what is the atmospheres of that timeline, which is fine. In any case, Leona says, maybe the pervert who broke into our office, that was Frankie, right? Yeah, that is Frankie. He broke in on Twilight's behalf to get to the info in the single women in town. Yeah, that's correct. It was Frankie. I don't know if this has been mentioned. I don't know. This just happened to me just now because every time I'm just looking at a big screen, I do notice smaller details in illustration. Did anyone notice the skirt length for each girl? Millie is the shortest, Camilla is kind of middle, and then Sharon is the longest, and even her stockings are covering or connecting to hers. Millie, of course, is not because she wants to show her legs. She's kind of Scandi with that, and Camilla doesn't wear it. I think in a way she's like trying to be in the middle of like, okay, she's attractive but also doesn't want to be too standard and stuff. I guess. I don't know what to call it. But very interesting. I don't know why, but that sometimes Endo is not sometimes, but Endo's always detail oriented, so I know there's a reason why he drew them having different skirt lengths, which is a thing. I don't know why, if you guys notice this too, but I remember in high school a lot of the times it's very popular for girls to wear shorter skirts because that was a trend. But the older we get, the more we care less about ourselves, right? Like Sharon mentioned, when you have kids, you don't care about that stuff anymore. That's why she's dressed up the way she is. Camilla, on the other hand, she's not married, but she has a boyfriend, and she still wants to look good. Millie, though, is I don't know what to say about Millie. I'm just saying she's Candy. That's all I'm saying. Leona also says, I think or feel that like Camilla would be wearing sheer tights. That's true, she could be. Alright, so on the bottom we see that Yor went to her apartment. I'm actually very curious of this because we never got an understanding of what apartment is this. Is this connected to the her work apartment? Because you know in Japan, I don't know if it's the same in Europe, if anyone would share this with me. Do you guys also have like housing provided by your job by any chance? I know there's some places, I know for me in California, I had a friend who worked for a business and she moved into like Irvine because the business allowed her to live in an apartment near her work, so she had better commute. So it's not very popular here in California, but some jobs do offer that. And I wonder if that's the same in yours state where she's staying in this building here. Is it related to her work? Is that where she's living? Because she's not living with Yuri anymore, and Yuri moved out because of working with the Foreign Affairs. We already know he moved in because of his job.
It's not a thing for civil servants necessarily. Like not the office working civil servants for Europe anyway. I do have like family that have been provided like accommodation and like a place to live or like a certain address, but they were like high ranking in the government. It's not for people of like, because like her job is very like low caliber. It's not like a common thing at all.
Okay, that's good to point out because we're getting a vibe of like our areas, right? So US, or well, California for me because I lived here, it's not very popular to have an accommodation provided for you, but there are some jobs that do, but it's not very popular. I feel like this is more from a Japanese influence because in Japan, a lot of the times they have people relocate closer to their work, I feel. Because when I was looking for jobs in Japan, a lot of them offer me like having accommodation covered as a foreigner because they're going to pay for my housing while I'm working for them. So I feel like this is a Japanese JP influence. I always find it very interesting how Endo likes to blend different cultures into his story. So we see the Japanese influence here. I can't write. Influence? It does not. My pen doesn't work for me. Come on. There we go. Influence. Also in the chat, Fui said the 60s and 70s was the beginning and rise of mental health, so it's still a big stigma back then because it's seen as a weakness. Yep. But back then, some doctors could easily be bought out for fake diagnosis to get rid of people in asylums. Yep, that totally makes sense. Even Melinda, a bit of a spoiler for 110, that her previous psychiatrist was on the edge and afraid around her. That makes sense, yeah. So, Anya also mentioned, Yuri lives in a housing provided by his job. Yep, Dominic lives in the same building. Not sure about Yor though. But most likely she doesn't, because Yuri seemingly is in a higher position. Government housing. She probably was living in the government housing before Lloyd. Yeah, I think so too, because she worked for the government, so that makes sense. I also doubt it. I feel like government housings are usually for poorer people. She's not that poor, and that's quite a large room too. Not sure, you have a good point. That apartment was huge. Yeah, it's questionable because I feel like it's just a mix of a lot of things. It could be for the sake of the story that maybe she did live in a government house, maybe. Because I know we have Camilla who lives in her own house, and she lives with Dominic, right? Or maybe he visits. No, Dominic visits her because he's Yuri's next door neighbor, if I remember correctly. But yeah. Let's see. Anya says, I also don't think that she lives in a government housing targeted for people with higher income. I want that apartment since Yor has already moved out. Right, Anya? Fui, I don't know. Maybe Yuri pulled strings for her too. He seems to type too. I think so too, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, because if he was living in if he got pulled into the foreign affairs job, he would obviously try to find a house for his sister, or an apartment for his sister.
Yeah.
That would make sense. Yeah, that would make the obvious sense. Alright, page 8. We have arrived here where Yor picks up the phone. Check. Briar residence. Oh, Yuri. How are you doing, sis? Oh, interesting. I don't know. Is there something about this chair that feels familiar? I don't know. I don't know why I just circled that. It feels familiar. It kind of reminds me of the Chase chair that she sits on, but this is a shorter version of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Although I feel Yor has enough money to take care of herself anyway. Yeah, I agree with that. I think Yor has enough money. It's just she kind of hides it from Yuri. She wouldn't really need to use the money herself, not unless it's like that important. She's doing pretty well. So Yor is saying good. Everything's good. Still working hard. Still working hard at City Hall. You're so weird. I worry about you. That's so rude. I'm not weird. This is actually quite interesting. Yeah, look at the way Yuri was drawn initially. We couldn't even see what he looked like. That's so interesting. When are you going to get married? You found a good guy yet? Oh, sorry. When are you going to get married? You found a good guy yet? This conversation again. Listen, I might be offered a promotion at work, but I'd be even busier than before, running all over the place. I don't know if I'll accept it yet. It wouldn't feel right to leave you alone like that. Oh, I already know what this is. Okay, Ani, what did you want to say?
Oh, I want to compare this panel with the next panel, which is in page 9, because in this panel you could see in the background it is the buildings where the night sky is gray, and what Yuri talks about, it's about him having a promotion, it's about his work, it's about him leaving, or like maybe they wouldn't meet as much. But then when he talked about their relationship, their loving relationship as sister and brother, then it turns into the night sky.
Oh, yeah.
So I just find it like, and you could see her face turns from this anxious face before this talk,
Yeah,
to a face that is truly grateful or touched. So yeah, I like how he portrays the changes of emotions
yeah.
using these different backgrounds.
Yes, I love that you point that out, because this is something that, oh my god, this is something that Endo-san is really good at. When he matches the dialogue with the visual, it's so good. And I'm glad you brought this up with this background, because we mentioned this before. Remember when we talked about the illustration for chapter 1, when we see all of them on the table, and we said Anya can see no things or something, the dialogue there, and it was like contrasting with what we see visually. Like, Endo's really good at showing how the dialogue matches or dichotomizes with the background. It's just, oh my god, I love it. And I like that you pointed it out here, because the buildings again are associated to promotion at work. busier than before, returning all over the place. I don't know if I'll accept it. It wouldn't feel right to leave you alone like that. So the visual of the buildings here, like you mentioned, with work, and then on the next page, on page 9, it's that their relationship as looking out for each other, my big sister looking out for me, and I'm grateful to you. And I like that it's portrayed in the night sky, because I feel like, I don't know if it helps. If you say your in Japanese, just all hiragana, your means night. So I feel like the night sky was a good representation of their relationship in a sense because of her name, Yoru. Because right now we didn't know anything about Yuri, which is what Fui mentioned in the chat. Endo had mentioned that in this chapter he didn't know how he wanted to draw or introduce Yuri. He initially wanted him to be a helpful brother, then later became Yuri. Yes, my favorite clown. Exactly. Oh, I love him. That clown. But anyways, I wouldn't be here in the first place if I hadn't had my big sister looking out for me all this time. I'm really grateful for you, you know. Something about the night sky as well. I think there was something about it being represented. There's a representation of it, symbolism. There's a symbolic thing. I remember talking about this in my literature class a long time ago. Maybe the name Yor, because it means Yoru, night sky. Night in Japanese. The night can also mean secrets. It also stands for mysteriousness. Mysterious. Yeah. That's all I remember from the night. I can't remember if there's anything more, but I like that. It's very symbolic with that kind of relationship. I know that, Yuri, thank you. So we see you're being very genuine with her feelings. Maybe I could introduce you to someone? What? You don't need to do that. In fact, I'm going to a party this weekend, and of course I'll be bringing someone. You've got a boyfriend? Yeah, I guess I do. Don't worry about me, okay? That's great to hear. So this party, is it with your coworkers? Oh, is it the one with your coworkers? Mm-hmm. Then I'll get Dominic to give me a full report on this boyfriend of yours. So very interesting here, kind of a small hint. Give me a full report. This stands out to me now when I'm rereading this, because it's like, oh, of course, the SSS. Very SSS military language. Another thing too is going back to page 8. The promotion has everything. Promotion at work basically means this is a reflection of how quickly Yuri got pulled into the SSS. So it's very, very fresh. So it kind of puts into perspective in this series of like how quickly Yuri got into the SSS was like literally the second chapter. He's been holding off on wanting to accept the promotion. Yeah, that, my friend, is called foreshadowing. Exactly. So very interesting choices of what's going on here. So yeah, jumping back to page 10. I know how naive you can be. If he's a bad guy, then it's my job to drive him away, right? Well, I'm not gonna take this promotion until I'm sure you're in good hands. So this bothers me so much because the way it's being said, it's like first he says, I'm not gonna take this promotion until I'm sure you're in good hands. But the thing is, he already took it, so he's working for the SSS. Maybe it's a promotion in rank, right?
Yeah, I think it's a promotion in rank, other than...
Yes. Because, okay, we need your expertise here, Moss. Because the rank in Japanese... I'm sorry, what was that, Anya? You broke off for a second.
I said it's most likely it's about the promotion within the SSS.
Yes, that could be it. It could be it. So, with Moss, what I wanted to ask was, I remember they said this in an interview or a reading, that the rank system is opposite from the US. Because I remember if you say you're Sergeant 1, Sergeant 2, you're going higher in rank. Whereas for Yuri, he starts off as a bottoms. So he's a... Shoot, what was his role again? It's been a long time. Y'all help me, my brain's not braining. Lieutenant, you're right. Ah, wrong one. So his rank right now is he's Lieutenant number 2, second lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even. with my writing. So this is considered the bottom in Japanese. I think they're following the Japanese standard, right, guys?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So this is opposite from the US. The one I know is that if you're second lieutenant, you're a higher position. But in Japanese, if you're second lieutenant, you're the bottom position. Which one is your direction, Moss?
I believe it's second then first. I'm just trying to think of my dad's role, because I believe he was a W02 before he was a W01.
Okay.
But I'm not entirely sure. I'm trying to Google it right now, but it's not. It's not. Google's not really helping.
Googling, not Google. Google, not Googling. Sorry, I'm saying the wrong phrases too. Damn it. Yeah, I think so too. So Fui also pointed out, I was wondering if the promotion's a second lieutenant. That's what I think so too. Like, what other reason would he be getting a promotion? So he went from... What's underneath a lieutenant? Is it a private?
What is Chloe's
I have no idea.
I think Chloe is right under Yuri.
Yeah.
I think it's... Did they just say junior officer?
Is it junior officer? I'm actually looking it up. What rank is under a lieutenant?
I feel like it's officer, but that's what it is in the UK anyway.
I'm so thrown off by this because I'm getting thrown off of this thing. I have a chart in front of me, and it's telling me sergeant, master sergeant. Nope. Where's lieutenant? Oh, interesting. Okay, so it says officers. Second lieutenant is a bottom, then it's first lieutenant is the next rank, then after that it's captain, then major, then lieutenant colonel. Is that the same for you too? Okay. So
very similar, yeah.
Okay, so I guess I was wrong because I don't know my military rank. I thought if you're first lieutenant, that would be like, oh, that would be the bottom one, then it's second lieutenant being a higher rank. No, I was wrong. I was freaking wrong. So second lieutenant is actually the bottom. So and then
I think it's to do with command, so like second in command, first in command.
Yeah, because he's an army officer. That's what he's ranked right now. That's what I see. Let me pull it up for you guys so you can see it too. Post it in the chat. The struggle is real for all of us. Here we go. That's the rank I was showing you guys. And I'm sorry if it's blurry. I just found it from my phone and just downloaded it as is. It says here, officer, second lieutenant is the first one, and then first lieutenant, then after that it's captain. Then a major, then lieutenant colonel, etc., etc. This is officer, though. Then there's a warrant officer above them, and then there's army. So does that mean he's a warrant officer, a chief warrant officer, before he became a second lieutenant? Is that...
Yeah, potentially.
Potentially? Okay. So we
It
can...
depends, because didn't he go straight from... He was outsourced, wasn't he? So he might have just skipped the rank and gone straight to lieutenant, because that is actually something you can do.
Yeah, I remember that because when I was looking into... For one moment of my existential crisis, I looked into going back into the army. I was like, what would I get if I was in my master's degree? And I looked into my rank and I'm like, yeah, no, not worth it. But yeah, maybe he did outrank because of his IQ, superiority, his skills, whatever. So I'm pretty sure he skipped a couple. Maybe Chloe is a chief warrant officer. Yeah. So also here, I see. Let me read back in the chat. I wonder if the promotion... Okay, Emmy says, I think he was already in the SSS, but then he got promoted to lieutenant. Fui says he'd be doing more field work and as opposed to just paperwork, which makes sense. Second lieutenant, I think, yes, private. So private might have been it. Chloe's a subordinate, so she's a rookie. Captain is Mr. McScarface. Yeah. He did raise through the ranks fast. I gotta find where it was mentioned. He skipped a bunch of ranks once he joined. Yeah, I remember that. I remember he skipped a lot. So, should be lieutenant while this one means captain. I think Yuri is that. Because right now he's second lieutenant, not first. Yeah, I guess what we can assume for now is either Chloe is probably a private or she is a warrant officer, which I don't know. We don't know that either. Okay, but jumping back, this is a nice detour. Where did my pen go? Okay, so we have probably a private, and then go to first lieutenant. I'm just gonna write it down here as a reference, but he's not first lieutenant though. That's why I had a discussion on that. I'm in another server. During the Wheelers arc, Yuri's boss is falsely translated into captain. But in JP, he's still a first lieutenant. That's why I had a discussion on that other server. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Interesting. Okay, I guess we can move on. This is gonna be a spin-off in the future for sure. We have this next part here. You really don't need to. I can't wait to hear all about him. Good night, sis. Click. This is very interesting because very un-Yuri-like behavior when we first meet or first hear about Yuri. I don't think he's the first to turn off his phone. He would probably well, actually maybe he could, maybe. I don't know. I just feel like he would be reluctant to hang up now that we have a better understanding of who Yuri is. But this is, again, we'll cut Endo-san some slack here because Yuri wasn't really completely understood as a character yet. We were kind of just getting a feel for it. Also, Anya, I think I heard your cat meow.
Yes.
You love it. That moment of silence. Perfect timing. Your cat really knows how to talk at the right time, huh? That's great.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so here we have Fui saying, so it's Scarface's first lieutenant, then Yuri is second lieutenant, Chloe's a private alone with other officers working under Yuri and Scarface, their team. Remember their cookie scene? Right after the tutors Anya. After he tutors Anya. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. But anyways, I can't wait to hear all about him. Good night, sis. So yeah, this is kind of pre-Yuri. This personality. It doesn't sit right with me, because I feel like I know Yuri really well now. This is pre-Yuri. I feel like he would have hung up if there was a reason to, but he would do his best to stay on call with her. Anyways, Yor says, what am I going to do? Clack. I have to meet someone before that party. Guys, I don't know if this is important or not, but my brain is saying, look at the word clack. Doesn't Twilight uses the word clack at some point when he's thinking? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
He does,
Yeah.
right? He does, right? I don't know why, but this onomatopoeia stands out to me. I feel like there's a connection there, but I can't think about it right now. But I know something about clacking. Something's related to Twilight. I don't know why. But anyways. Moving on. I have to meet someone before that party. Next page we have, oh wait. The chat saying, remember cookie scene. Emmy says, Anya mentions about Lloyd clacking. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, is the clacking supposed to be like a phone call hanging up? He's disconnected? Is there some sort of connection between them? Because I feel like there might be. Who knows? It's when he's thinking too much about his spy work, I think. Yeah, he does. Clockwork sound, yeah. So I wonder why here. Because I mean, it is a dial phone, so it does make a ding kind of sound when you put the phone down. Maybe there's a connection, maybe not. Who knows? Page 11. If he finds out I lied, he'll think his weird sister is a pathological liar too. He'll never trust me again. For the sake of his career, I need to find a good ring. Okay. And then we have, you're saying, check. Yuri, what I said earlier, I was just joking. Are you and your brother fighting? That's unusual. Anya, go ahead and take away. Why did you circle the I? think we lost her again.
Oh, because hi.
Hi, welcome back.
Hi. Yeah, I'm back. Well, I just feel like in these 3 panels, it already signifies the changes of her emotion, and which switches from the second layer of Yor to the third layer of Yor.
Yeah.
Like we get the robot like Yor in the office, and then we got the very loving sister Yor at home. But then both yours are still keeping some sort of secrets, right?
Right.
And this shows us, this is kind of like revealing a secret, kind of like, and it transits from the second layer to the final form of Yor, if I may.
No, that makes sense. Like, again, this is connecting to what Moss said earlier about the eyes speaking, and we talked about this regarding with Lloyd, so I like that it's just carrying over with each character after that, henceforth. So we have, like you mentioned, when we compare it to how she reacted in the office, she's very deadpan, her emotions are not really expressive in her eyes. It's like she's disassociated, but whereas she's at home, she's showing more emotions like her concern for Yuri, she's going crazy, then she goes into like, oh, this is my boss speaking, and then we go to the third page, or the next page, page 12, with her eyes being like kind of menacing, a little bit, has a very dangerous look in them. So going back to the dialogue as well, we have the shopkeeper saying, oh, are you and your brother fighting? That's unusual. Huh? Shopkeeper, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought, good evening. I have a client for you, Thorn Princess, this has actually stood out to me, guys. I don't know if we talk about this again, but ever since I started writing like fanfic that's very Yor-centric, I've been very attentive to code greetings. Instead of saying good evening, if you think about it, the order matters, guys. The fact he didn't say good evening at the front just goes to tell you, it should have been bolded. This is the greeting that shopkeeper has with Yor, because remember how we have good morning, or should I say good evening to you, Twilight? We have good evening from shopkeeper, and then he says the clear words, this is all bold now, I have a client for you, Thorn Princess. So just seeing that, this is his greeting. What do we actually call this in, like, is that what we call it, just greeting? It's like a code greeting, right?
Yeah. Is it?
Is it? Moss, do you know if that's what it's called?
I have no idea. I'm so sorry.
It's like when you're greeting someone and it's like supposed to be a very secretive exchange. There's a word for it, I just don't remember what it's called. Does anyone know?
I don't.
That's what I'm trying to figure. Coded greeting. I'm actually looking it up because it's bothering me. So Leona says, this reminds me of embedded commands as they relate to hypnotism. Okay, I found it. So it's called a coded greeting between spies is typically called a challenge phrase or a password phrase. Interesting. So we got the word. Yay. It's called a challenge / password phrase. Password phrase. And my thing doesn't want to work with me anymore. Sorry. Phrase. Yes. So we have that with Twilight and with Handler always greeting him good morning, or should I say good evening. We have the Garden version, which is good evening. I have a client for you, Miss Thorn Princess. So page 12, we see her eyes square up menacingly. the Royal Hotel, room 1307. And this is actually quite interesting because I actually want to point this out. I'm sorry for going off topic for a little bit here. It's interesting because this is one way of showing how Yor is able to get information. She mentions it later in the chapter when Anya's doing a job interview with her parents, that normally she would receive a paper that tells you exactly who is she supposed to target, and she's supposed to read it because it's just to prevent her from killing the wrong person. I remember that's what she said in her imagination with Anya if she were to bring her to her work. But in this case, how come she didn't have a paper? She was just told by a shopkeeper to go to this room number at this location, the Royal Hotel, room 1307, for example. So kind of going back to what Fui said, the indoctrination of Yor becoming an assassin, she just listens, doesn't say anything else. I see that you circled the chandelier. Why? Why, Anya?
I just feel like because it's a nice hotel. Sorry, it's a nice hotel, and you could see people dressed nicely.
Yes.
Like this guy hidden behind the column. He's dressed in a tuxedo kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So people so Yor has to dress to fit in, right? So this is a dress that she could fit in, but this is, I think we'll talk about it later, but this is also her only nice dress. So basically she's wearing her nice dress to kill.
Yeah, I like that. I actually wanted to talk about her dress too because it's a good choice, because you got this beautiful woman, like, and the dichotomies that she kills, you know? There's a good parallel between them. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Also, I highlighted the words again, the clack clack with her heels, connecting to ending the call, ending a life. Made a connection. So she's like the walking Grim Reapress. Reaper, I guess you could say Grim Reaper, Repress for feminine, I guess. I don't know. Grim Reaper. So I like that there's a connection with hanging up the call. Why use the word clack twice? That's something that always stands out to me, is there are no... With Endo-san, there is no coincidence. There's a reason why.
Is it just to emphasize her shoes? Like, to emphasize, like, the silence and, like, the fact that that's the only thing she can hear is her shoes. It's, like, it kind of reminds you of, like, a heartbeat.
Yeah. The question is, why not just click, click? Because that's kind of the sound I hear. Kind of. Click. Well, click actually makes me think of the mouse when you click on it. That too. Or step. That's the thing that makes me, like, kind of bothered, is, like, the onomatopoeia, there's a reason why he uses them. It's just very interesting. Maybe it could be related to work business or, like, work related, because again, with Yor, it's her heels make that clacking sound. The phone call communication with her boss after she hung up from Yuri. There's also Twilight thinking clacking when his brain is working very quickly to register information in his head. It's all clacking. I think it's just related to work, maybe?
I think it relates to the typing sound, the calculator sound.
Yes. I was thinking more of like a typewriter sound. Clack, 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 clack. That sound. Onomatopoeia. I don't know if I spelled it right. So I feel like this is an onomatopoeia that's related to work, and I feel like that's very interesting that he's using something. Yes, even the Leonis is too. The typewriter sound. I actually really like that sound. It makes sense because it fits the time zone in 1969, 1970s, but also at the same time, it's when you think of typewriter, you think of work. So very interesting. I love that. So we have the next part here. She's going to the 13th floor. Ding. Sorry, lady. Let's see here. I love that they pointed out I don't know if it's just the same. Is this the same for you in Europe? By any chance, Moss? Do you guys skip the 4th floor?
Sorry?
I think they skip every
2. Never mind, you're right. I'm just being crazy.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to ask anyways, I know in a lot of Asian cultures we skip the fourth floor. We don't put 4 because it's associated with death. So I don't know. Is it common in Asian countries?
Because it.
Oh, sorry.
It's not really as common, but in certain areas it is. I think Japan and Hong Kong are 2 places that do that, but I'm not really sure about other places.
Indonesia.
Because of the same reason.
Indonesia skips it too. Yeah. So yeah, Indonesia skips number 4 as well. I remember because I lived in a building in Indonesia and I rode an elevator and I was looking for the 4th floor. It's not there. So they also have something against it too, I think, if I remember correctly. So I know in the US we keep it. UK, do you guys keep number 4 on your elevators as well? Or your floors? Moss?
Sorry, say that again.
Do you guys keep your number 4 on floors and elevator numbers as well?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I've not really ventured all of Europe, so I can't like say specifically.
Yeah.
But from like the places that I've been, yeah, it's been every number.
Okay. So definitely more of an general Asian culture thing, most likely.
I know some skips 13. I know some Euro buildings skip the number 13.
Oh, okay. What about you, Moss?
Again, I haven't traveled much of Europe, and when I did, I was probably like 6 or 7.
Okay.
So it's not something that I can actually speak on, unfortunately.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Thank you. So yeah, interesting that you point that out to Ania, and also Leona pointed that out, that 13 was kept being in a more European-like country. Very interesting. Because I know in terms of Western culture, 13 is a unlucky number. Friday the 13th, for example. So the fact that it's 13 being marked here, I feel like it's a little bit symbolic. It's hinting that it's unlucky for this person. They're gonna die. So 13, unlucky. So I feel like this is more of a nod for Western nod. Yeah. Very interesting to look at that stuff. All right, page 13. We've rented out this whole floor. So we see Yor right here. Did somebody order a girl? So why did you circle Yor in this particular scene, Anya?
I like that starting from page 12, after the panel of the eye, this is the first, not really the first. Oh, sorry, my cats.
No worries.
This is her the only silhouette we could find in page 13 and page 14, right?
Right.
And it's kind of, and this is part of the introduction of Thorn Princess being this powerful assassin, because you don't need to see her face, you can't really see her, and then you're already dead. So
oh, I like that.
Yeah. So that's why I circled this.
Yeah, it's very interesting because
silhouette or figure.
Yeah, I like that. That's very interesting. It's like you mentioned, like you don't get to see her face because, you know, like, think of the Grim Reaper, the last thing you look at is death itself. Or from what I've read in some interesting proses in literature, is like you see the face of death. So the face of death is Yor, Thorn Princess. So we have, that's really cool that you pointed that out. And that she's showing her back to us, the readers. But for them, she's looking at them. So they're looking at death, basically. Death reincarnate. So yeah, very interesting. Anytime I'm doing a curve, it doesn't want to do the curve with me. I don't know why. So now, yeah, we see here, they're looking at death. Respectfully, sirs, I've heard that a traitor scumbag is staying here? Question mark. So, very interesting. Something I wanted to point out, because at some point I was very obsessed with how Yor, like, cusses sometimes. She tends to cuss more when she is at work. Sometimes around Lloyd. Because she says "God damn" when she was drunk. But very interesting seeing how her language changes. And she brings out the pick or the needle, whatever we call it. And we see her strength. She kicks them over. What the hell is this? We're under attack. And then he gets stabbed. A lone female just... And then again, clack. Excuse me. And it's very interesting because, again, we have another emphasis of clack, right? This is the rule of the third happening, or the emphasis rule. The emphasis rule happening in threes. The first is the phone call hang up. The second is when she's walking through the Royal Hotel. The third is she finally makes it to her destination. And just like when she hangs up on the phone call, this is the death scene of the guy. So we have Vice Minister Brennan from the auditing department, I presume. May I have the honor of taking your life? I apologize for the intrusion, but oh, I forgot that one. Code name, Thorn Princess. Okay. So why did you circle this, Anya?
Because when you compare it to the introduction page of Twilight, it's basically drawn the same way. Even I'm posting the screenshots of the 2 pages onto the chat, but you could see it's a more distant shot and then a close-up of an eye.
Oh yeah, and the parallel between them too, because you see Lloyd is horizontal, yours is vertical.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
Yes, nice catch. It's like 2 parts of the circle, basically.
That's why I circled it.
I love that. Thank you for catching that. Oh my god. I'm missing the parallels from like, referencing from this to this. I don't know why I'm missing it. But yeah, I love that you caught that. Thank you. And of course, something to point out between these 2 parallels of introducing Thorn Princess with Twilight. Zoom up on the eyes. Again. Yours eyes, and then Lloyd's eyes, too. It's like we're trying to read their intentions, of course. So, yeah, I really love that you pointed this out. The vertical versus a horizontal comparison. Interesting how ceremonious her taking of lives is. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so she does it more in a respectful way. Yor does mention this in Anya's interview as well, or like in her imagination head, that she wants to respect these people as still human, even though they are scum. She said they're still human, so the best thing I can do for mercy is just to take their life very quickly. So the way she frames her words here, may I have the honor of taking your life, it's still honoring the Yor Briar that we know, because she's still polite. She's still the Yor Briar from the office. She's still Yor Briar here, but again, just a little bit of more, I guess you could say, I don't know how to say it, like maybe she's a bit more filthy with her words because she says things like the traitor is scumbag, for example. Kind of a filthy way to say. I don't know if I should call even cussing, but she is saying some harsh words. But very interesting. So we have codename Thorn Princess was introduced, and we get to page 16 where she's washing her hands and she's cleaning up the mess she was involved with. So it's interesting because I noticed here she's wearing her gloves. I wonder why she wears those gloves. If anyone knows, let me know. And then when she's, the next thing you know, in this panel, she's taking off those gloves and she's washing her hands. So it makes me wonder, like, did those gloves get blood in it? That's why she's washing her hands? Most likely, yes. That would make sense, I guess. But maybe is it used to help with gripping the stilettos? Yeah. That's what I thought so too, Leona. So Leona said, I wonder if the gloves are to grip her stilettos. I thought so too. They are fingerless, right? So it probably gets bloodied. Yeah. As far as even costume-wise, because I had these gloves too for my cosplay, the fingers don't have gaps in between them. It's just the thumb hole versus the 4 fingers are all together, so it's fingerless, kind of, yeah. And then Anya found something on eBay, the size S. size small, boxing, martial arts, protective hands. Yeah, it's similar to this, but I think Yor doesn't have these little finger holes for them. I don't think. Because if you zoom in on her fingers, there's nothing there. There's no gap in between. You see what I'm saying? Because like the one on eBay, it's showing that there are little like finger sockets that you put your fingers through. But in this case, she doesn't have any. It's just an open thing. So the only thing literally holding her hand to the glove is her thumb hole. Because without that, they would just slide off her fingers. So yeah, it could be protective gloves for martial arts. It could be, yeah. I wouldn't let that slide by. It could also be used for that. I do think it's for her grip on her weapon too. Yeah, I think it could be a mix of the two. It's for a grip, but also it could be protective gloves for her. Well, I wouldn't say protective gloves. They're not protective gloves because it protects nothing. It's not. It's protective gloves are supposed to protect your knuckles. This doesn't do anything for it to hold it down. If anything, it's just probably for grip, probably, or design choice. Leona says, I always find the symbolism of water in literature interesting. In literature, water is a powerful symbol, often representing life, rebirth, cleansing, transformation, the flow of time, and the subconscious, with different forms like rivers, oceans, and lakes carrying specific meanings depending on the context of the story. Essentially, water can symbolize both positive aspects like renewal and negative aspects like danger or the unknown depending on how it's portrayed. Exactly. Wrist guard gloves, house-made, because retention ring on the stilettos are what helps them grip them. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Okay. So yeah, we got to see a little bit of Yor. I think this is a good mark to stop because I know that Moss has to get going at this time, so we can save page 16 for another time. So it's a good place to stop too, since we just got introduced to Thorn Princess. All right. Anything else to add?
Nothing for me.
Nothing for me too.
Okay. All right. So I guess that could be the end of today's episode. We can definitely move on with page 16, and so on and so forth. I think our next meeting might be Saturday, but we will discuss about times and stuff. I think if not today, then I guess we can discuss another time. But yeah, we're gonna be figuring out our time schedule. So I think at this time, we are gonna go ahead and end the stream, everyone. So if you stay till the very end, thank you so much for joining us and exploring Chapter 2, Part 1. We're looking forward to analyzing more pages of this chapter, and we look forward to you guys joining us again in Episode 9. Wherever you are in the world, we wish you all good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Stay hydrated, eat something healthy, sleep well. And other than that, see you then. Bye, guys.
Bye.
"私の可愛いおじさん